Greetings everyone, Silveroxis here. I have been away for a while due to medical complications and I am on the road to recovery, and I have recovered enough that I can finally make this guide that's been long overdue. So this is the Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent buff debuff team setup guide that combos well with how to buff stack with the other video for getting high damage that I made last year. This is going to be extremely in-depth to just try to help you understand how to properly team build for any fight in the game, and how to set up, look for accessories, and all of that. I do have a very well-stacked account, as I am a mid-spender dolphin type player that has strategically spent and planned to get a bunch of different accessories. So please be aware that if you're newer at the game or fully free to play, your account is going to look nothing like mine. But all of the strategies that I still am going to tell you, even if you don't have the accessories I do, will still apply, and you can plan for them. And you can also just look through the unit compendiums and look for any unit that is shardable, and look for A4s that you could exchange for as well that could help you in your account based on what you want and looking for what you need. So please pay attention closely. You can ask questions. I'll try to help in the comments below as best as I can. But please don't hit me with the, but I don't have this accessory, I don't have this, or I don't have this, or I can't spend to get this. It's like, it doesn't matter. Even if you can't get close to my damage, you can still learn from this to understand how to maximize your own with what you have. Alright, and the goal is to get the glowing red numbers, the damage cap, because every account in the game, no matter how strong or weak you are, you can reach your damage cap once you have maxed units. Once your units are level 120 and 6-star, every account in the game with proper buff and debuff stacking, you can get your DPS to hit the damage cap, no matter what your damage cap is. It is not that difficult if you know what you're doing, and that's the purpose of this. So, long preamble over, let me start by explaining the damage formula again briefly. Okay, so this is a very good graphic that was made by Tough and Aki for the damage formula. It's very, very simple. I know it looks kind of complicated, but it's very, very, like, how you're going to build your teams is that basically you have these different groups. 6 different groups. Technically, there's ways to technically have more, but some of these things are outside of it. But anyway, the main thing is your goal when you're buffing and debuffing is to fill up each one of these groups as much as possible, so they all multiply together to multiply your damage cap as high as possible. So your damage as high as possible to then reach your damage cap, not multiply damage cap. I'm sorry. So to start off with, you have your very simple stats up and stats down. So in COTC, there's no, like, it's not like the base games where your stats up, stats down are literally like adding and multiplying your actual character stats. It's just a straight multiplier, which is very simple for calculation, which makes it a lot easier. So if a unit has a 15% physical attack up buff, they're just doing 15% more damage. It's that simple. Same thing as if an enemy has 15% physical defense down, they're taking 15% more physical damage. That simple. So basically, you're just looking to get as much P attack up as you can, much passive P attack up as you can, or magic attack. I'm just going to say it as P attack because that's what I'm focusing on right now, but everything I say applies to magic. You just have to flip it for that buff. So you're just going to get, you know, active attack, passive attack, and then active defense and passive defense down on your enemy. Passive defense down usually comes from using accessories, A4s and accessories or passive abilities on a breaker unit. So I'll mention that when I come to building that, because this is passive is usually a bit harder to get. Active down is just using an active battle skill, like Edgar, for example, just does 50% active physical defense down instantly. It's insane. So, like, you know what I mean. The normal stat cap on that subject is 30%, but then some units like Edgar have the ability to extend it higher. Same thing with active stats up and passive stats up. Like, active stats up, unless you use, like, Agnea's buff to make it 50%, it caps at 30%. Passive stats up, same thing, caps at 30% passive attack up. A lot of units and a lot of DPSs, main DPSs will already have this capped or already have like 15% on themselves, so it's really easy to get it from other sources as well. I'll be using Reek in my build to show off, and he extends the cap to 50%, so I'll be having 50% passive attack up, which is also really easy to get. So that's just how that category works. Then you're going to have your group 2, which is damage. Which is just damage up, so therefore same thing, passive damage up, active damage up. A lot of DPSs might come with passive damage up built in. If not, you'll need to make sure you're giving it to them via other units. This is important. I'll explain that when I'm making my team. Active damage up, same thing, just an active damage up buff from your units. Same thing, you want to give up to 30% active damage up or more, depending. Then group 3 is actually resistance down. It's actually just the inverse of damage up. Unlike being combined like Group 1, where they're combined, they're actually separate, so that's why damage up and res down can be very important to have capped, because they're more powerful because of how the multiplication works. So the same thing, active resistance down, it's a skill, like for example, like Edgar does 50% active spear res down just instantly. That's crazy. So that, for example, that works. And then passive res down, usually the same thing, that comes from using A4 accessories or break your gear, or some units can do passive res down like sparingly, like Edgar can do passive spear res down, Roland can do passive spear res down. So it's another reason why I'm going to be using a spear team to showcase this build. So it's yeah. Then Group 4 is the Ultimate Techniques build section, which includes all the stuff you can get from Ultimate Techniques. So you get Ultimate Attack up, Ultimate Defense down, Ultimate Damage up, and Ultimate Resistance down, all in the same category. So just you have to look at your unit's Ultimate Techniques and see what you can get out of this category, because this is a very powerful category as well. It's very important to have a dip at every single category. Don't leave a category blank, because otherwise you're just multiplying by 1.0. It doesn't multiply 0, it's just you have to assume every category has like a 1 in it, and then you're adding the numbers to it. So like if you get like 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%, then you're doing plus 1.2, plus 120%, which is 1.2, so then it'd be 2.2 instead of 1.0. And that's kind of how you just do the math across. So yeah, that's why you want to fill up every single bucket. Then Group 5 is Pets. So Pets is mainly just for 1 DPS, longer term I'm going to be doing a solo DPS build just to show how powerful you can really get one unit to be, so that just to really showcase the damage formula and how buff stacking really works. And so that way the team building concept works. Just keep in mind that for later game fights, and if you're trying to do these really mega hundreds of, like, 50, like 30, 40, 50 million fights and stuff like that, you're going to be using multiple DPSs, so Pets won't be as impactful except for like that one unit that you're going to have hit the hardest, but it's still important. There isn't a very important accessory. Let me just show that real quick. That you need to get from Side Celestia Chapter 9. It's imperative that you have this accessory right here, the Stamp of Compassion, because this allows the paired ally, so your main DPS, to get an extra turn duration of buff effects, which also works for pets, and that is very, very important for the pet category. So you want to make sure you have that thing. It's like in the giant gross tree thing. I don't want to spoil the story or anything like that, but it's like a giant gross tower thing, and there's like an exit, like a secret exit, like outside the tower that leads to a chest that has this 120 artifact. So when you complete Side Celestia, you should be able to find it if you full clear that tower. But that it's imperative to get that accessory, so that way you don't have to just use the unit Lucetta. You can be more free with your team building. So that'll allow you, so like if you use the Chomper pet, which is like the best pet in the game, that does 30% pet damage up, like a whole 30%. It'll last 2 turns instead of 1, so it can last both turns of break. Or in Sazaz's case, I can just use it whenever, and once he jumps, all the buffs freeze. But that's a special thing, so don't pay attention to that part of the build, because normal DPSs can't do that. But then you have things like the new pet that they just gave every account that does 10% P attack up and plus 30,000 damage cap. You have the Meowvelus pet that you can charge up to boost level 4, which I'll also be using, that gives up to 20% pet P attack up, which then could stack with that 10% and extend it. So then it'd be like 2 turns plus 2 turns for 4 turns, then minus 1 for each turn that goes down because of the artifact. So then you can basically, it is very possible with pet stacking to get 30% pet P attack up and 30% pet damage up on your main unit if you want. Pet res down doesn't exist yet. I mean, it's there in the formula, but they've never released a pet that does that yet. Not even NetEase has released a pet that does that. And then there is pet stats down if you want. Hagen does pet 10% pet PDEF down. I do use that a lot myself, on like the second turn or break, or for Sazak specifically, so that also matters. And then Group 6 is just the Divine Beast, which is 10 to 20% damage up, depending if you double cast it with Iviette, because they do stack. It does stack with itself. It's a unique case. But you're always going to want to use the Divine Beast either as soon as possible on turn, I believe, turn 5 or 6, or turn 6. Or if you have Aviette, then you can use it whenever you want. So then you can use it the turn of break, and then everyone's going to get 1 turn of damage. That, and then everyone, and if it gets extended by the artifact, your DPS can get it last longer. And if you are specifically using Aviette, which is most units, most accounts should have her, because everyone in the Discord's been telling you to get her. And if you're watching this video before the paid selector's gone and you don't have her and you haven't exchanged your paid selector yet, like you didn't waste the 30 fragments on a vet seal, you can pay as low as $7 and get Aviette. And that is an insane value. Like, Aviette's amazing. Please get Aviette if you don't have her. because then you can double cast the Divine Beast and get 20% damage up, which just is even more damage. I don't do that in this build because there's no time for that because of how Sazek's jumps. But for a lot of most builds like that, if you're not breaking till turn 4, then you can just wait till turn 4 to use the Divine Beast. And Aviette might already have 9 points and double cast it, so just keep that in mind. You can play with it. When you read her sheet, you'll understand what I'm talking about. For this other stuff, like you can kind of read this. Like the main thing is if you get a critical hit, you're doing you're doing 20%, 25% more damage. Period. That's just an extra multiplier. You could consider this stuff like Group 7 if you really want to. If you have like damage up things from like from weapons that you have wielded, that's another category. Just boom, it just add another category. Skill potency up just adds on more damage, stuff like that. And if you have like a weakness implant, you're doing 20% more damage if they already had the weakness on. This stuff isn't as imperative to know, but it's just you can get more damage. And just keep in mind that these are basically kind of like a separate modifier, like a separate group, because everything in this damage formula is multiplicative. Hopefully that's not too confusing. I know it's just one of the things you kind of just have to listen to a few times to understand. But I figured a long-winded explanation is better than no explanation at all. But let's get into more practical team building now. Alright, so this is the team that I already have built, and I'm going to kind of explain it. So the main thing is, the reason is I'm obsessed with Sozon's EX as a Dragoon, so I'm going to be doing a spear build. So let's just, like, for example, what you'd want to do is, let's say you're trying to beat a fight, right? So you're going to open your codex, and you're going to go to your adversary log, right? And you're going to go to, like, let's say, everyone's favorite punching bag, Gertrude, right? So you're going to look at the weaknesses, and you're going to build your team based off the weaknesses. And yes, before anyone says anything, yes, I am fully aware you can use more Russo EX, Dark Priestess, and like coming up with Setzer, Lynette EX combo to get exploits off out the wazoo, especially if you're doing Rainbow Team. So if you're doing that, you're going to build around that. But if you're not building around like setting up a weakness exploit system, then you need to look at the weaknesses of the fight, and then you need to build. So that means you need to make sure you're either hitting dagger, bow, or fire weakness, right? So if I go to my team and go to my skills, you can look at my main damage dealer is going to be Dragoon's Pride, and you can see that it exploits fire, so I can use Sozon's EX in this fight without having to do any modifications. So my build is going to be around getting this ultimate off, buffing and debuffing Gertrude as much as possible, and buffing Sozon's EX as much as possible. Therefore, I'm going to be making a spear-based build. So the first thing you want to do with your DPS is make sure you have the right weapon and armor on them. If your main DPS is doing very well, you're going to want to give them a brilliant weapon or Stera, because you can give them 100,000 damage cap up on the weapon, which is very, very important. Because I'm using his ult, I don't have any potency up skills, so I actually just went and farmed the level 100 hell fights that can drop these special souls to get a tiny bit of extra P attack. That's not necessary. I just min-maxed the hell out of the character. So basically, this is the weapon I have for Sozon's EX. I have him having the Cosmic armor on. It's a little less defense, but it gives an extra 50 P attack. And because I do have all the good A4s, I have the free 120 artifact for 200 P attack, 100k damage cap, 200 P attack, 100k damage cap, and 250 P attack, 100k damage cap. Like I said, if you don't have these A4s, it's fine. Just use what you have. Bargello A4, the one you can shard for, use that. If you don't have Harkari A4 for 50k damage cap, use that. Free damage cap A4s, anything you got, just use it on your main DPS. Damage cap is usually the most important thing on your DPS, almost always. That's what you should highly, highly focus on. Like, to that note, you can see for like my for the rest of my build that I have another damage cap A4 on that. When I switch places, Sozon's EX will get an extra 25,000 damage cap for one turn, which it gets extended by the Stamp of Compassion. And then the Orphanage postcard is really good to give behind a main DPS because it'll give them 10% P attack up as well. So you can keep that in mind. So for the rest of my build, my goal is to give him to maximize spear buffs, spear debuffs, and I also want to get as much damage cap as possible. So we have Marissa EX for her ultimate to give him potency up and 100k damage cap. Renew EX, the potency won't stack, but it'll give him another 100k damage cap. Then we have Edgar here, because Edgar is an insane unit for spear, mainly because of this skill right here. Because this one skill with his passive, this is why reading is very important. The reason I'm going so slow to explain it, because when you're putting your units in, you want to look at their passives. So at full HP, he's going to raise the battle skill polearm and support polearm res down So active polearm res down and passive polearm res down to 50%. I won't be able to reach the passive polearm res down, unfortunately, because I don't have another unit to do that. I would have to use Roland, but then that would cost me damage cap, and I'm trying to show off the damage cap. But the point is, he's going to be doing this. So with this one skill right here, he's doing 50% physical defense down, 50% polearm res down, and then I'll use this skill later to allow the physical defense down to reach 50%. So he's going to be doing 50% and 50% both. A very important thing to note is that if you do this first, the 50% phys def down, it's only going to do 30% until you increase their limits. But the thing is, the game remembers that it's supposed to be 50%. So once you increase the limit, it's going to jump to 50%. You're not punished because you didn't do this skill first. You can do this first, then this, just so you're aware. And then it's going to come down to using, and then I'm going to be using his ultimate, because his ultimate is going to lower physical defense of all foes by 15% and their polearm resistance by 15%. This part right here would be good, except that it doesn't stack. So, and I have Ochet EX, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm going to be getting the extra stats from Ochet EX instead, because it's going to take the higher value, even though they're two separate buffs, because apparently they don't stack, and that sucks. Even though I built them that way, it doesn't matter. If you're not using Ochet EX and you're using just Edgar, then yeah, I did build him. His weapon is a Lance of Fortune with capped physical defense, and I did the same thing for Ochet EX, capped physical defense on a Fortune Sword, and the highest physical defense armor. So anyway, so yeah, so that's what Edgar's here for. Then I have, to move on, I have Particio is a big part of this build, because what he'll do is he'll buff the active physical attack and active polearm damage by Sazzy X by 20% each. And then he can use his ultimate. Unfortunately, he doesn't ult 20, but it doesn't matter. He can still give, and he'll give ultimate polearm damage up by 15% to Sazzy X as well. And then also, because of his passives, and there's 4 merchants in the party, he will raise Sazx's polearm damage by 15% and give Sazx 30,000 damage cap up. And 15% P attack up, but that doesn't matter because that's already super capped. Yeah, because Sazx does not have any passive damage up. He only has passive physical attack up. So that's why reading your unit's passives and knowing what works together is very important. Also, because of Edgar's passive here, Edgar will lower the polearm res of all foes by 15% when he switches to the front row. That's why he starts in the back row. Very important because positioning matters. And he'll also raise the polearm damage of the entire front row by 15% when he switches to the back row, which he'll do on turn 2. So that'll actually give Sazx 15% polearm damage up to stack with this 15% polearm damage up to then have capped 30% polearm damage up passively. So that fills up that bucket entirely because of proper planning. So then moving on to almost the final things. The reason this is good for speed clears. Reek's not the best unit ever, but he works really well for this build specifically. And the reason why is just because he just gives damage. He's raising the physical attack limit for Sazx to 50%, which is just 20% more damage to Sazx. That's great, giving him 20k damage cap. And then when he uses 3 BP on a turn that the Sazx lands, he's also going to give him 20% more P attack. So that works. I mean 20,000 more damage cap. So Reek's giving, it basically just exists to give 40,000 damage cap to Sazx. It's the best option I have until Tiziano EX releases. So then we have Ochet EX, which is extremely important for this build as well, because what she's going to do is that, and we'll get to Aviette in a second, is that she's going to raise the physical attack of the front row by 15% and physical damage by 15%. This will stack with with a Particio's buff to do 30% active physical attack up to 30%, and also cap the active damage up to 30%. Because even though spear damage up and physical damage up are 2 separate buffs, they also give the same effect to spear, so they will stack to 30% damage up. So she'll be using that, and then she'll also be using critical scope, which is basically dead aim but backwards, which is the same thing as like giving dead aim to a unit. So basically this, when I use critical scope, this will guarantee that when Sazx lands with his jump skill, he's gonna, all 12 of his hits are gonna be automatically critical because of this critical scope ability. And then she also will have her ultimate, which is going to raise the damage limit of Sazx by another 100,000. And then finally, the reason that she's extremely useful is that this ability right here adds 20% of her physical defense of 2,244. 20% of that will be added to Sazanso ZX's P attack, and this is better than Edgar's 15%, so this is the one that will take priority. And so that's why she also is here, because she's giving 100,000 damage cap up and a bunch of damage up by 20% more stats to Sazx. And then the final unit I have in the build is Aviette, who, as like I said, is an amazing unit. She is going to back surge her ult turn 1, which will raise the ult P attack by give Saz X ult P attack 20% up, and also lower the reuse period of keepers, which actually matters for the Meowvelus keeper that's on Maruso EX as well. And then because I'm doing it at 200%, it'll also give Saz X 50,000 damage cap up. Because of that, she will, and because I will be using her ult into EX go into ult, she's going to get 9 points on turn 3, therefore she will also then give 50,000 damage limit up more to Sazantos EX, as well as HP regeneration, which keeps everybody alive. This other stuff doesn't not matter because I'm not double casting Divine Beast, but her TP passive as well allows the Divine Beast to be used early. Okay, so as you can see, that's why I have the team set up as the way I do. Though the positioning of the units does matter. I mean, I guess these two don't really matter. They could be whatever. But everyone starts in a certain place in order to maximize as damage as possible. And then, like, finally, for changing the equipment, I would like to go over the accessories, like I said. So, like, I give him all the damage cap in the world. I guess it'll just be better if I actually go through it. Because I do have ult charge accessories, very important. Rinyu's going to start with 100% ult charge, so that way she can use her ult without having to do any actions, which is very useful. I have the malicious accessory, which won't matter on Gertrude, so you can just ignore that. It'll matter for the other fight that I'm going to do. El's calling card, because Rinyu will be in the back row when Sazx lands, it's going to give a 20,000 damage cap up. Because Reek will be in the front row when Sazx lands, I have Agnae for him for 30,000 more damage cap up. These two don't matter for Gertrude because she's immune to burning. AoE A4 is a free A4 that gives warriors 100% ult charge, which is very important. I use it on Ochette because I do not have her AU because I'm getting her A4 with shards first. So I don't have time to waste it on AU, so therefore this allows me to actually get her ult charged on turn 1 immediately. And then I just have these two for high PDEF up to get her PDEF up stats to get her PDEF as high as possible to buff Sazx. For Edgar, I gave him Hanukkah EX to do enfeebling effects by 1 extra turn, just to make sure it lasts. So that way, when he does his ult on turn 2, it'll last to turn 4. These don't really matter though, because these are when I thought the PDEF thing stacked, but then I found it didn't. So I could use other A4s here if I had them. If I had other A4s that boost the damage cap, which aren't released yet, then I do have open slots basically. But until then, yeah, open slots. So the important things here, this is a Krauser A4, which I sharded for specifically because I like Saz X, so, sorry, is lowers Polearm Res by all enemies by 15% at the start of battle, so that just allows me to get a bunch of free damage just by existing. I do have Signet A4 for 5% physical defense down, and Red Hat Guard for 15% physical defense down, so I basically have 20% passive physical defense down for free. Actually, you know what I can do is I can actually swap this out, so I can actually swap this out for this. This is also using the sort filter feature is extremely important for finding accessories. Because I do have Tatluck A4, I'll just use that. Because there's a small chance I get 10% passive defense down to cap it to 30% just because I can. Because I had an extra slot. So that would give me 30%. Normally, if she wasn't immune to burning, like if she wasn't immune to burning, then this A4 starts battles, enemies combust, turn plus Largo A4 extended to 4 turns. Plus malicious accessory would give the 10% PDEF down that I would want, plus more damage cap. But on Gertrude, that won't work, and Gertrude's the best showcase for this. And then finally on Aviette, because she doesn't have TP level 2 yet, she does need an ult charge A4. So I have her with Inquisitor's Cloak to get her to 200% so she can 200% ult turn 1. And then just lower the enemy's speed because I have extra things, and lower enemy P attack by 15%, so that way I take less damage and there's no way to RNG die. So like I said, the main thing is when you're building your team is you do want to look at your accessories and how they flow with your units. So like the main thing I want to recommend doing is using the filter feature. So like for your main units you can do for P attack, the main thing right here is if you need an ult charge accessory, if you have any, you can do this. Very, very important. Temenos A4 is the only one that's currently shardable besides Ochette EX A4, so make sure you shard for those. Very important if you need ult charge at the start of battle. So that way you don't have to over-rely on pets, or you can still use pets. Another important category to be aware of is down here. You can go right here for resistance down. So whatever weapon type you're using, you can look for the resistance down for that weapon type. so that way you can see if you have any that start the battle with resistance down, or if you just resistance down on break, anything like that, so you can plan your team around that, because this is a very important category to fill out that you can do for free. Then finally, the most important category will be your attribute down section. This is where it's very, very important. You have like things like Hikari XA4 when breaking enemy elemental defense down by 10%. This is speed down. This is defense down. Signe 4, all of them down. Hikari A4 is 50k damage cap, but is also on break, physical defense down, and physical resistance down by 10%. Very, very, very good. Yanlong A4 is free to get, and when breaking an enemy, lowers their physical defense by 10% on break. That's very, very good. Red Hat Garb is Nickel A4. She's a general pool unit. Start a battle, lower the physical defense of all enemies by 15%. Very, very good. Things like that. That's speed down. That's a 4-star A4. Varkin A4, free A4 to get 6 turns of elemental defense down passively, 15%. Start a battle. Very, very, very good. Harley A4, 15% physical attack down for 3 turns. Stuff like that. These are very, very good A4s, and most of them are startable or in gen pool. So you want to plan on getting these if you want to get more damage. But please use your sorting feature to understand where your favorite accessories are. It's very important. And then finally, the most important category after that would be the damage limit up category. You can click on that, and you can sort all your damage cap, artifacts and A4s, so that way you can make sure you're using as much as possible. Even these free ones down here, like, matter. Like, even this is better than not having anything else. This, for example, for a physical attacker, this 20,000 damage cap is better than just giving them an accessory with more P attack, because that means they're going to do 20k more damage per hit that you do. It's like, that's why I'm making this video long, and I'm stressing how important it is to sort your stuff. And then finally, because we have the quality life, the most important thing you can do after that is if this is an A4, like for example, if I use this A4 all the time, favorite it. Because if you favorite your A4s, then you can sort by, then you can literally sort by favorites, and it's very, very good. Actually, no, wait, that's not what I did. I did it wrong. You have to click here to favorite, my bad. But yeah, but that's the final thing, is yeah, if you have an A4 you use all the time, that use a lot for like all your builds, like for example, for all your builds, once you have this accessory, you're using this all the time. You're using this all the time. Like some of these accessories, you're using it in every single fight. Favorite them, so that way anytime you make a new team, instantly you can find them. Hopefully this long-winded explanation helped. I'm sorry it took so long. I know it's really hard to explain. I'm trying to show how I build my team so that way people can understand. This is universal knowledge. This will work for every team in the game. Like, I am focusing on Spear right now, but it doesn't matter if you're building for Dagger with Locke, if you're building for Rainbow Team with Zerk. It doesn't really matter, because you're setting up your DPSs and you're organizing them in the right way with the accessories to synergize with each other. So you use what you have and you build the best team that you can. And then you plan in the future for units to pull, what units to chase, things like that, so you know what you can build your accounts around. And anybody can do this, like I said. It does not matter how strong your account is. Every account in the game can reach their damage cap. Alright, so I know that's been a whole bunch of talking, so if you skipped ahead or you're like that, we're going to go ahead and get into beating the living crap out of Gertrude. And I'm going to explain this step by step. And then I'm going to do something kind of special to show how stupid this game can be when you really, really, really build. Alright, so we're going to go and start off turn 1 just dropping this, because this is going to give the 10% damage up, and for Susanso's EX specifically, it's going to last because when he jumps on turn 2, everything freezes. So I'm just going to go and use that to get out of the way. We're going to back surge Aviette into max boosting this, so that way Sazx gets his thing. Then on turn 1, we're going to use Sazx's pet here to give him 30,000 more damage cap and 10% P attack up. Sazx does so much damage he doesn't need Chomper, so I'm choosing to give him more damage cap instead. And I need Sazx to be in the front row for those buffs, so I will be using his EX skill to give him priority, so he's going to jump to the front row right away. Plus max boost to charge his ult all the way. Edgar's going to come out and max boost his drill, because it's going to do, you know, that 50% physical defense down and 50% pole arm res down right away. And then Particio is going to buff Sazx after he comes out, so that way he gets the 20%. And this is going to cap with Ochette. So Ochette, and now Saz is going to be at cap physical attack up, capped active damage up, and it's also going to have the ult P attack up from Aviette. As you can see, he gets the 2 turns from the pet because of the artifact that Morozu EX is wearing. That's why it's very important. Alright, so now turn 2 is when Saz's Enzo's EX is going to do his jump. So turn 2, because of the ult that we did, she's going to be able to max boost Meowvelus to cap Saz's EX's pet P attack to 30%, and also charge her ult. So now we're going to back surge her ult to give Saz's EX 100k damage cap, and then he's going to supercharge jump this turn. The speed is set up so that he's going to go last and get all the buffs. So we're going to then back surge Edgar's ult to debuff Gertrude's by 15% ult diff down and pull res down by 15%. And then Rinyu's going to use her ult that we have set up because of the ult charge A4 to give Saz X 100k more damage cap. Particio is going to ult and give Saz X 15% active ultimate pull damage up. And then Ochette X is going to back surge her ult to give Sazanto CX 100k more damage cap, while Aviette does her EX skill to just give everybody more defense to stay alive. The P attack up doesn't matter because Sazak is already capped on that, and this is also giving her 3 more beast points. And so that's going to be all of this, and we've already used the pet this turn, so that's going to be turn 2. Alright, so now Saz is in the air. And so now we can set up a couple more debuffs since he's going to land on the next turn. So what we'll do is now we're going to have Edgar use this, which will increase the active physical defense cap to 50%, instantly making it 50% on Gertrude. And then we're just going to bring Reek out so he's in the front row. Doesn't really matter what skill he uses. And then Aviette is going to back surge her ult again, just because it gets her 3 more points, which is just going to activate her passive for 50k more damage cap. And while she back surges that, Ochette X will activate critical scope, so that way everything that Sazx does will be an automatic critical hit. Alright, so now we're on the turn that he's going to land. We're not just going to click attack because we do have a final little bit of setup. So we're going to start with Reek. We're going to use the Keeper. We're going to use Direwolf's Aid to do 10% physical active pet defense down, which is just another 10% damage added to Gertrude. And then finally, in order to activate Reek's passive to give Sazx 20k more damage cap, he just needs to max boost the skill. He doesn't actually have to use it, but that'll give him 20k more damage cap just by using the 3 BP. Ochette X is in the front row, so she's just giving 20% of her stats to Sazx. And so let's go ahead and review what we've done. So looking at Gertrude first, you can see that if we go to defense, she has active 50% physical defense down, 20 passive physical defense down. We didn't get lucky with the Tatlaka EX proc, so it's just 20%. That won't matter. She has ultimate 15% physical defense down and 10% pet physical defense down. You can click here to see what the categories are. And then if you go to other, you can see that she has active 50% pull-arm resistance down, passive 30% pull-arm resistance down, and ultimate 15% pull-arm resistance down. So all of that is just multiplicative in how much damage she's going to take. Then if we go and confirm what we're looking at with Sozon, we can go to his attack stats. This isn't exactly 100% accurate, but it's close. You can see that he has active 30% of P attack up, 50% passive P attack up, 20% ultimate P attack up, and 30% pet P attack up. So all of that is stacking together. Then if we go to his damage options, you can see that he has 30% active polearm damage up, 30% passive polearm damage up, 15%, and then he has 15% ultimate polearm damage up, and 10% divine beast damage up. If I'd use Chomper, which is not necessary for this build, but just to be clear, most fights you're going to use Chomper. I just don't need him for this because of how strong Sozon ZX is. Then if I use Chomper, there'd be a 30% there. And then we can scroll down here to see that he has a max value of 100% potency up, of the unstockable potency up, because of only 2 of them don't stack together, but only 1 of them. Specifically, if I go to his passive skills, also Dragoon Devastation, he has actually final damage up of jump skills by 100%. So that is actually stacking with this potency up. So he actually has 300% potency up for this attack. Just fun little thing. And then finally, you'll notice that the total value of the damage cap is plus 994,030. Oh my gosh, I can't read. So that sounds like a damage cap. The actual damage cap is actually a bit higher, just to kind of show that. So this is what the game is getting you from all of the active buffs, all the ultimate buffs, the active buffs, the accessories that you have on, the equipment you have on, including your weapon, ultimate buffs, everything like that. All your accessories and everything like that, including your verses, because I have like 9,003 verses or something like that. So I have like 9,030 damage cap from the verses or whatever. This does not include 2 things, by the way, though. This does not include skill damage cap, and this does not include your character's base damage cap. So Sozon ZX's ultimate has a plus 100,000 damage cap. And then the base damage cap in the game is, if you have 6-star fully max, is 129,999. So technically, the game is actually missing 229,999 damage cap from the actual total. So if I add that together, my actual damage cap should be basically that. So let's see if we get that. So our actual damage cap should be 1,224,029. So let me just go and slow this down and enjoy the show. And there you go. Easily damage cap, completely eviscerated through shield, and because it's just proper team building. And as you can see, the total damage cap is, yeah, like I said, 121.40. Oh, that's right. I'm 30,000. I'm 30,000 off because of the 1A4 that doesn't trigger. All right, so that's really cool, and I could end the video there. But I want to show one more thing. This is a SazX exclusive thing I'm going to show you. But this kind of goes to show you how powerful you can be if you properly team build. Because I want you to know, so I didn't say it in the damage formula, and I should have, and I apologize, but 99% of the time you're going to break the enemy, so you're going to get 5 times damage when they're broken. Hitting a weakness just gives you 2 times damage. Not hitting a weakness at all, you're only doing 1.0 times damage. That's it. You're not doing any bonus damage, and there's no break bonus. So what if I took that and fought a guy with basically over 9 million HP? With 9 million HP, that's not weak to anything SazX can do. What do you think happens there? Well, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but I already have a build for this. So I'm going to pull this out. You'll notice that it's basically the same build, but instead of Rinyu, there's Roland, because I don't need as much damage. I can't hit the same damage cap, so I need a little bit more damage. But I'm just gonna show you what happens if I do this off weakness, because of how min-maxed I've mastered the damage formula. Which, if you follow this video step by step and use it to apply to your own teams, you can then do the same. Like I said, there's no spear weakness, there's no fire weakness, there's no wind weakness. But this is just going to show, like I said, there's no spear weakness, no fire weakness, and no wind weakness. So this fight will be using Chomper. But otherwise will be mostly the exact same fight. Alright, so yeah, he didn't paralyze us, so we don't have to worry about any RNG this fight. Alright, good. Also, like, a good thing to note, too, is that we had the malicious accessory thing on, so he's, I got cap, off cap PDF down. Alright, so we're going to use Meowvulus on, on Saz X. Back surge the ult onto him, give him the potency up. Super burst. Back surge, active ult, which does 20% pull-arm damage down, which will cap with Edgar's. Plus, he's going to get 15% more pull-arm res down probably. Activate that. Back surge this into EX skill, and there we go. Yeah, there's passive pull-arm res down. So now he's going to be at 40%, 45% passive pull-arm res down. Alright, same thing as before, just get that out there to get the passive PDF down capped. Back surge that to get her damage cap online and critical scope. And then the final thing before Saz X lands, Hagen 10% pet PDF down. And Reek Max boosts his skill to give him 20,000 more damage cap. And if we look at our stats confirmed this time, you'll notice that this one is basically the same. Okay, I guess I have the wrong equipment on. I guess I took off the other equipment, my bad. But the same thing. You'll see that he has 50% more pull-arm res down just because of the Roland existing. And more ultimate pull-arm res down. So he's going to be taking more damage from this overall. And you'll see that Saz X still has his full setup going here, but plus Chomper. Just slightly less damage cap because I just cut out Renew. And what's this? Damage capping over 1,000,000 off weakness? Wow. It's almost like if you team build, you can do crazy things in this game. I know Saz X is stupid, so don't think you can do that. You can't do that with every unit. But I wanted to have this at the end just to show off how much damage you can do. All right, like remember, you're not gonna be able to off weakness any character in the game like that. Giga nukes, yes, but not 12 hits like that. That's a Saz X special, just because Dragoon jump. But I kind of just wanted to show that off weakness without anything else like that, he still did over 13 million damage. So team building matters in this game, and yeah, like I said, my account might be pretty stacked, But if you follow this video closely, I know it's long, you can do the same thing. And I made it long on purpose so it has as much information as possible. I am planning on making other videos, so if you're going to be asking, well, what A4 should I exchange for, more deeds or something like that, I am planning on making a video on that in the near future. That's just going to take more time. This one's been a very big endeavor that I've been working on for a very long time. But otherwise, yeah, please ask questions below. I'm happy to help. Like this said, this is universal information that will help with anybody trying to make teams. I just focused on spear, but you can do that. This will apply to any weapon weakness that you want to build for on your team. And whatever units you have, synergy matters, reading matters. Read the unit kits, ask questions, build your teams, and you can anybody can damage cap. Otherwise, like I said, thanks for anyone that watches. I know this has been very long. I'm sorry for the delay that I've had. I've been very, very ill with my disability. Anyone that supports the channel, it means the world to me. Thank you so much. I do say all channel revenue right now from the channel that I'm getting is going directly into medical bills, and it's really helping ease the load because this stuff is unfortunately not very cheap. Surgery in America is very, very expensive. If you know how bad our healthcare system is, you can kind of get it. So thank you so much. Don't forget there are options for the channel memberships to get no ads and early access to other videos. So that's something that you can do to help support, or just watching the video and subscribing is plenty. And it means the world to me because just being there and knowing that people rely on my videos means the world. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Feel free to join the free Discord server. I have it linked below, as well as the CotC official Discord server as well. Join that if you want to ask for help, because I'm frequent in there when I'm available on my phone. Otherwise, I will hope to see you all in future videos in CotC, as I'm hoping to recover and make more content regularly again, as well as the other Sonic content with my voice actor team as well. So, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for being there for me, and I appreciate it. And as always, it's no use. Have a wonderful rest of your night.